Welcome to the Books Between Friends podcast.
3 lifelong friends,
one shared obsession.
Books.
From epic fantasy to page-turning thrillers.
We dive into the stories we love
And the ones we just can't stop talking about.
So take a seat,
Grab a drink,
and get cozy.
All right, you guys, welcome back. And speaking of cozy, what is making you guys feel cozy these days? So, for me, I just had a whole 12 days out of the office and it was just so relaxing. Like, I got to read a bunch. I think I got through 3 or 4 books in that time. Obviously, it was the holidays and New Year's, so it was just a great time. Just relaxing and having some time to myself.
Awesome. So honestly, same for me. Like I was off since December 17th and I
So a
went
couple
back to
weeks.
work. Yep. Went back to work today. So that was a little tough to wake up this morning.
I know, oh my God.
But what kept me cozy throughout the break was just all the time alone and really time to sleep in, time to read, time to go do adult things like get my registration sticker updated.
Being responsible.
Yeah, just those kind of things. But really it was the reading and the writing part because like I'm still working on my dissertation. I'm like 3 months away from finish, or really 2.5 months away from finishing. So like that's been on my brain.
Crazy.
And that's going to be in my brain for the next 2 months. But still having enough time to read because like I was reading this one book, y'all, and literally like right in the beginning, it like caught my attention because it was talking about something that happened in the prequel of the story. I was like, crap, I'm gonna have to read the prequel. So I read the prequel during my break so that I can finally get to the book I actually want to read.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Ethan?
love it. I'm going to take just a quick break real quick because I don't know if you can see this back here. These dogs playing and they're super loud. So I'm going to put them in the back room real quick. So what's keeping me cozy these days is I too had to go back to work today. So wah, wah. But you know what's okay about that is that for today and tomorrow, we don't have students
kids
back yet. So fantastic.
Yeah.
Not that I don't love my kids because I do. But it is nice just to get your mind right and just to get back into the groove, know how you're going to tackle the first day back with the kids. So yes, that's been great. But along with getting back into the groove is, hey, we're back for another season. So I'm super excited. That's what's been keeping me cozy. I've been reading all the things. I've been reading Red Queen. I've been reading other books. I've just been in the reading feels. So yes, getting back into the groove in all manner of speaking. So that's been keeping me cozy.
Awesome.
So exciting.
All right. So, you guys, we are so excited to start season 2 of our podcast with The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. So this is going to be the first book of 2026 that we discuss on the podcast. And we're so excited to talk about this one because the reason we chose this book to start off this year is when we went to the Texas Book Festival last fall, we actually got to meet Victoria and we saw her speak in a panel about YA and fantasy novels. And we just really enjoyed her banter and the answers that she had to her discussion questions that were given to her. And she was honestly such a lovely person to meet. After the panel, we waited in line to have her sign Jen's first edition copy of Red Queen. And she actually pointed it out. She noticed right away that it was a first edition copy and gave us that little interesting tidbit about how she noticed because it didn't say New York Times bestseller across the top. So that was really cool. And we just had such a great time and felt such great vibes from her that we really wanted to discuss this book because obviously it's one of the staples in the YA fantasy realm. So we're really excited to talk about it today.
Yeah. And this is honestly the first time the 3 of us are reading it, and it comes at a perfect time because she just celebrated her 10th anniversary of this series, y'all. This was originally published in 2015.
Yeah. And let me tell you, when we met her, she was just absolutely fantastic. We've talked about it a moment on the pod before.
Yeah.
when we first went to the festival, but she was just delightful until she takes the craft of writing very seriously.
Yes.
She has if you follow her on TikTok, she has a lot to say about AI with writers, how writers should go about using AI and stuff like that. And so I really, Red Queen has not been on my radar, period. I remember when it first came out, but I'm excited to kind of dive into it just because of how lovely she was in person. And Steph and I didn't even have a book to get signed, and yet when we were waiting, she was still talking to us too, and like she was just great. Like she really was.
Yeah.
It was really awesome.
All right. Well, before we dive into our discussion, I'm going to kick it back over to Ethan for a quick spoiler warning and a little shout out.
All right. So before we get started, just like Steph said, this is your quick spoiler warning. This is your PSA. If you're listening to this episode, we're assuming you've read the first 7 chapters because there will be major spoilers throughout. So if you haven't had a chance to read all 7 chapters, please be sure to go and finish them before listening to this episode. And then when you do, listen to it and join our discussion because we want to hear from you. Speaking of hearing from you, we would love your feedback on Apple Podcasts. So if you're enjoying this, please give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps others in our bookish community find us to where we can all be book friends together. So we would love to hear from you. Give us a shout out. Give us a 5-star review if you so please. We would love it. We would love it. We want to hear from you.
Yes, please. And we would love to shout you out on an episode.
Yes.
In exchange. Okay, so like every new book that we discuss on the podcast, we like to start off with our first impressions. So I'll go ahead and kick us off for this segment. And like I mentioned before, when we were talking about why we chose this book, Red Queen has been on my radar for a while, just because I know it's like one of the big major YA fantasy novels of the last decade, obviously. And I know that it has inspired a lot of what's popular now in the genre. So I was really excited to see like where that inspiration came from and where it stemmed from. And I'm excited to say I'm immediately captivated by this story. I love Mare so far. She's our protagonist, and her friendship with her best friend Clorn. And I can't wait to see like where this story takes us. And I also already sympathize with her a lot. Like, so, it's YA. These are young adults. I think she's 17, about to turn 18. And she's going through a lot, and she takes on a lot of like responsibility that's very heavy and adult already in these first 7 chapters. I'm feeling for her, and I'm really rooting for her.
We were rooting for you.
Yeah.
When I first started this, really my first impression is shaped by meeting Victoria in real life. Like I wanted to read it that much more just because she was so pleasant. I've met other authors before that weren't as pleasant as she was. So it's big, it's big to me. That goes a really long way. And so when I first dove in, I was really excited, and they do not disappoint, right? These chapters, they go hard, they go fast. It is very fast paced. And who doesn't, if you're a fantasy lover, who doesn't love a fantasy that begins with the bleak situation, right? That it immediately gives Hunger Games meets Mistborn to me, like Vin meets Katniss. Just the social disparity of it all. Like there's definite hierarchy to things. There's a form of elitism that springs in this book. So I'm already hating most of the Silvers, and I love it. So it's just really good. The writing is really good because it makes me feel. I immediately want to go and read more. I can't wait to get more of the conflict because I know, like, just in these 7 chapters, there's going to be a lot of it. So I'm ready to dive into it for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I bought, like, we mentioned, I bought it before it became a, bestseller. So, it doesn't have that up here. And I remember buying it because it's one of the very first few books that I bought for myself whenever I finally started having some real money. But I don't remember actually reading it. So I'm going into this with that, like, just really excited to finally read this book, especially after, as Ethan and Steph said, finally meeting Victoria. You know, she was just so amazing. But I'm already hooked. Like, I love a good plot, and this story is already interesting. It immediately grabbed my attention. It was action-packed from the beginning, and we've only read 7 chapters so far. The way the ending of the 7th chapter ended, like, that was holy crap. Like, I wanted to read the next chapter immediately, but I was like, nope, we cannot spoil it for ourselves. You know, that's how we love doing our podcast, like chapters at a time. And so I already want to read it after we're done recording this episode.
I know. I don't know how we keep like choosing the perfect cutoffs for our episodes, because I was like, wait, truly. Oh my God, what is
yes, like what just happened?
Yeah, and it's at the very end.
I was just like, okay, so, but the whole concept of the Silvers being the elite with the powers, while the Reds with no powers are fighting their war for them. I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? I don't know. Have you guys read The Selection?
No.
Okay, it's another dystopian YA fantasy book. It's so good. So, like, this is giving me a lot of The Selection meets Throne of Glass. Well, really book 1 of Throne of Glass, but so, like, so okay. The Selection meets Throne of Glass. It's so, I love it. I see a lot of similarities with Cal and Mare to the Powerless series, and how like Peyton and Kai met. So like that, you know, that was pretty interesting to see. But this has like a whole different plot than Powerless does. So I'm very interested to see how this whole Mare situation plays out, because like I said, that ending of chapter 7 was so great. Like, I cannot wait to get more of this.
Yeah. As Jen said, action-packed from the jump. So this is going to be an exciting read.
Yeah.
Jump into a summary, but I think for this particular novel, it merits something that we would like to introduce as the lore bite. So this is something new that we're going to start doing whenever necessary to introduce either a new world or the background of a series that we're discussing. So for today, we're going to talk about the magic system, the political system, and the war that's happening in the background of this world before we hop into a summary. Starting off with the magic system, magic is tied directly to blood, with Silvers who have silver blood possessing supernatural abilities, such as controlling fire, metal, water, or electricity. And each ability is associated with one of the noble houses. And these powers are treated as proof of their divine right to rule over the Reds, who have red blood and have no powers, allegedly. We'll get to that. The Reds make up the majority of the population in this world and have no political power whatsoever. They're considered inferior. They're like the ones who do the grunt work, the ones that are being sent to the war. And so unfortunately, that is the section of this political class system that Mare finds herself in. And then moving on to the political system, the Kingdom of Norta is a monarchy ruled by the silver nobility with the royal family at the top. And power is all concentrated among the elite silver class. Each house is defined by their abilities and political alliances. And then the Reds have no power whatsoever, as we mentioned before. They only exist to serve, work, and fight for the Silvers, and the Silvers maintain their control over the Reds using fear, propaganda, and violence. And then in the background, there is a war that has been going on between Norta and the Lakelands over land and resources for almost a century. And the war has been fought entirely by Red soldiers, drafted and sent to the front lines as soon as they turn 18, unless they have a job or an apprenticeship, which is super hard to come by in this world. So not everybody is so fortunate. And there's a rebel group called the Scarlet Guard that have begun to fight back, though, challenging the silver rule and demanding equality for the Reds, turning this war into both an external conflict and an internal rebellion. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into a quick summary of these first 7 chapters, and then we'll get into our discussion. So, Mare Barrow is a 17-year-old Red from the Stilts who survives by pickpocketing because she has no apprenticeships and faces conscription to the front lines when she turns 18. Her best friend, Clorn, had an apprenticeship until his master died, and because he's already 18, he is now faced with conscription within just a couple of weeks. Desperate to save him, Mare turns to a black market smuggler named Farley, who demands an impossible amount of money in order to smuggle him away. The next day after that, Mare travels with her sister, Gisa, a seamstress, to Somerton, the luxurious silver city where Gisa is an apprentice. Gisa sneaks Mare into the hall so she can try to steal enough to pay Farley. A Scarlet Guard attack sends the city into chaos, and as they try to escape, Gisa is caught trying to steal from a silver, and an officer crushes her sewing hand, ending her apprenticeship and her future job aspirations. That night, Mare goes out pickpocketing at an inn, and a young man catches her trying to steal from him, but instead of turning her in, he actually gives her a silver tetrarch, enough to pay Farley. He introduces himself as Cal, and as they walk back to the village, Mare confides in him about how she's trying to save enough money to help Clorn and about what happened to Gisa at the hall. The next morning, 2 soldiers and a royal servant arrive at the Barrows' home and announce that Mare has been summoned to Somerton. She assumes she's being arrested for stealing, but instead learns that she's been given a job working at the royal palace. The servant girl, Walsh, explains that it is Queenstrial that day. The ceremony where noble daughters showcase their abilities and compete for the chance to marry the prince. And at the Queenstrial, Mare discovers that Cal is actually the crown prince Tiberius Calor, heir to the throne. During the trials, the arena is covered by an electric shield, and Mare accidentally falls from a viewing area, but instead of getting electrocuted by the shield, she falls through it onto the arena. Faced with a deadly metal attack from Evangeline Samos, a magnetron, Mare instinctively throws her hands up to protect herself, and lightning suddenly explodes from her palms. And that's the end of chapter 7. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get into our discussion. And just as a reminder, we like to do a 3-2-1 structure. So we'll start off by discussing 3 things that stood out to each of us, and then 2 character moments, and then we'll wrap it up with 1 theory or prediction before the next section. I'm actually going to kick it over to you guys since I've been talking for a while.
Yeah, I can go. Mine aren't too extensive here, just because I feel like I don't really have, even though there's a lot that's happened here, I don't know how to feel about it just yet.
Yes.
And so, so I'm just going to go with kind of world building-ish stuff. Okay. And so the first thing that sticks out to me is like just the bleak living environment that Mare finds herself in with her family. It's not great, right? They're given rations, like they have electricity rations and stuff like that. And it's pretty much a situation where Mare is forced to steal, right, in order to survive. And for some reason, like I get it, right? Like stealing is bad. We don't like stealing. But for some reason, her family just kind of looks down on her for doing it. I was like, guys, if she doesn't, you're not going to live, right? Like, you gotta give somewhere, right? Like, let's give credit where credit is due. Like, at least she's doing something here. She's providing in the only way she knows how. But that's beside the point. This still to remind me of the stacks from Ready Player One, and that whole kind of situation, and like even the environment in that. It's obviously not as modern as Ready Player One, but it gives that to me. Like, that's what I'm looking at here. The next thing that stuck out to me is the whole exchange between Mare and Cal when they meet for the first time, and she doesn't know who the hell he is. And it gives Aladdin to me.
I love that.
It just gender swapped, right? Yeah. So Mare is Aladdin, and Cal is the Jasmine character who's never left the palace walls. And so, so that's it just immediately stuck out to me. It's like, oh, it's like that, you know? Like, where's the animal companion? Like the Kiwaboo coming in with the apple. But that's immediately what I thought of. Yeah. And like I said, the third thing that stuck out to me is just how fast-paced everything is. And I think that's very intentional here. And I really enjoy the way Victoria Aveyard is world-building here. It's very intentional. We have this social disparity and social unrest, and that's always, in my mind, that's always a clever way to do your world building, because as a reader, I automatically want to read more because I want to know why things are unfair, right? Like I want to keep on reading, and that's what pulled me in, not necessarily like the fantasy magic aspect with the powers and stuff like that. Like usually that is what draws me in, but true to my dystopian kind of heart, right? Like I love that. I love reading about the political struggle of it all. And that's what drew me in, and that's what's keeping me wanting to read more, right? Like that kind of conflict, I'm here for it. And chapter 7, I was like, no, I want to read more.
Yeah. Well, especially since like this war supposedly has been going on for like a century, and I'm like how is the war going on for that long? Like, are you kidding me?
There's more, I think, behind the curtains, I think.
Well, of course.
So.
Right. And it automatically makes me want to, like, if you're a silver, you don't want to get your hands dirty, right? But if war is really the question here, and we have people that are super powered, right? Like it just makes more sense that some of them would join the front line, and maybe they do. Maybe we have to read more about it, right? But I don't know. Like it seems like the Reds are just there to serve that purpose.
I'm sure the people in command are all silvers, but the people on the front lines, like putting their lives actually on the line, are not. So
well, and that's why I thought like that was one of the things. That was one of my first impressions, right? Like, how do you have all these people with no powers fighting the war of people with powers? Like, you would think that putting people with powers like would end the war that quickly. Leads me to believe that they don't want this war to end.
Right, for it to end.
Yeah. So, okay. So for me, Ethan started to touch on this a little bit, but the very first thing that really stuck out to me was Mare's family. And honestly, I'm like low-key pissed with them. Yes, like I am so upset with her family, y'all. Like I understand being a thief is not something to be celebrated. I get it. But the way that they live and not really having any other choice, like you would think that her family is grateful to have extra money, to have extra resources, but instead they look down on her and they criticize her. And like Mare has to like walk around with her, with her head down low, just because like she knows that her family is disappointed in her. And I'm just like, dude, like if I were in their position, I would be so grateful to have all this stuff. Like, yes, thank you. Like you're putting your life at risk to get this extra money for us. You're putting your life at risk to get us extra electricity. Like I don't understand what their deal is, to be honest. And you know what? If you don't like it, then you go out and go do something about it then, Yeah.
Like, and that's exactly what I meant by like I was feeling for her, because she like feels a sense of responsibility to provide for her family, and she keeps saying it's the best I can do. It's her only option. So
and she's 17.
It's
you
sad
guys
to see how that's taken by her family.
Well, and a lot of the times, like in some of these fantasies that you read, like there are no parents around. She has both parents here.
Right.
Like, I know one's disabled, but like she has both parents available to help bring them, or at least to help provide more for what they're doing. Instead, they're like relying on the younger sister, Gisa, what is it, Gisa?
Gisa, yeah.
Yeah. They're
I
like
did
relying.
Get the audiobook, so I know it's Gisa.
Okay. So they're relying on the youngest daughter, Gisa, to like bring everybody out of this poverty. Like, are you kidding me? Like, why are you doing this to this poor girl? I'm still kind of like wondering though, like I don't quite understand the relationship between Gisa and Mare. Like for a minute there, I thought that maybe Gisa also looked down on her, but then it kind of seemed like Mare made it seem like they were best friends and they really got along. Like I was getting both.
I'm sure it's just like sibling dynamics, like on the one hand you kind of like pick at each other constantly, but on the other hand you're always going to be there for your siblings, so I think she's 14, so she's probably taking her cues from mom and dad, who kind of reprimand Mare every time she brings something home that was not bought. And Gisa probably tries to mirror that, but she's her older sister at the same time, so she's going to look up to her and she's going to want to help her, especially when she's trying to help one of their friends,
Right.
Yeah. And it's this kind of dynamic that brings out the catness of it all to me. This whole situation with Mare, like right where Katniss, it wasn't really celebrated or judged about how she provided for the family, because she would, you know, leave the boundary line to go hunt, and then she would sell to peacekeepers, right? So it wasn't necessarily looked down on her, but here it's very much that, right, where her family was like, no, you shouldn't do it.
I know.
I'll go hungry rather than you're gonna do all that.
It pisses me off, honestly.
Yeah, like, what are you going to do, starve?
It's so stupid. Yeah. So that was the first thing that really stuck out to me. The second thing was the Queenstrial. Super interesting event, by the way. And it happened so quickly. I'm like, I want to hear more about this. So I'm hoping we get more of this event, because I'm assuming it'll be ongoing past chapter 7, because like they still have to pick a winner, right? Or whatever.
Right.
But this is what reminded me of the selection. So for those of y'all who haven't like read the story, a little bit of it was like, basically, it deals with the crown prince having to pick the next queen among a selected few. All the girls go and stay at the castle while competing in different trials, and then he makes his pick at the end. But of course, there's a lot of deceit, there's power plays, evil kings, blah, blah, blah. All very interesting, all very good. I ate up the whole series, like, loved it. But this is, like, it reminds me, like, this event reminds me of that story. So anyways, so I'm just kind of wondering, like, how is this event going to turn out after what happened with Mare? You know, it kind of sounded like the royal family had their favorite in mind, and that's kind of what happened with the selection too. There was just a lot of power play there, you know, and you know, after the way that Mare accidentally displayed her power, like, I wonder if the trial is even going to continue, and what's going to happen with all the daughters. Like, is there a round 2? Is there just like one pick? Do they pick the top 5? Like, I don't understand. So like, I'm really interested in that. I cannot wait to keep reading more about that. So yeah, what did y'all think of that?
It seemed like even Mare didn't even realize this was a thing, because Walsh explained to her it's the Queenstrial, and she didn't even know what to expect. And so leading up to that, I was expecting kind of like, the only thing I had to relate to it was from watching Bridgerton, and you know how they have the season and all the noble ladies come and like, you know, showcase themselves. I'm thinking it's like a beauty pageant, and then all of a sudden like things start flying. These girls are like smashing things and like just, it's a display of power, you know? And I'm like, whoa, it is nothing of the sort, you know?
Well, honestly,
that was so interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that's far off, right? Because it is like a pageant in that sense, right? Where you're showcasing what you can do. Again, it reminded me of Hunger Games here, right? Where in the beginning, the Capitol's trying to size each player up, and they score them on a scale of 1 to 12. I'm thinking that something similar is probably happening behind the lines of how are we going to decide which one is worthy for the prince, you know? And so, yeah, this is all a display. It's all, you know, what did they call it? Dog and pony show, to try to win the prince's hand. So yeah, it was super interesting. I was like, oh, damn, we got some powerful ladies here. But another interesting thing is like what you were saying earlier, is that Mare didn't really seem to know that this was the thing. And that same thought crossed my mind too, is like, oh, the Silvers really, not that they don't want all of their secrets out, because obviously with Gisa, we know that some Reds can enter the Silver City, right? It's just that they don't broadcast it, right? Like Silvers very much have their own world that they live in, and the Reds are left to deal with the scraps over here, right? And so that was interesting that, you know, a lot of Reds don't know what's happening behind, you know, in their city.
Yeah, that's crap.
I know.
Like, they don't even let them in on the secret for entertainment purposes. Besides that one, like, wasn't there like a fight or something in the very beginning where they let the Reds watch? Beginning,
they have these, they call it like First Friday, so I assume it happens once a month, and they pit 2 Silvers against each other to fight, and they let the Reds watch, I guess for entertainment, but really it's just a display of power and to like keep them in line, is what I took away from it.
And they're not allowed to kill each other either, which is also interesting.
Yeah,
so the one that we actually got to see, it's not really a character moment because it's fleeting for me.
There was that
one where we saw where he did kill someone, right? Like,
well,
Right.
I
Yeah.
think he almost killed him, and I think they were able to revive him before he fully died.
and what kind of ability was that? Do y'all remember?
He was able to enter the mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was
Apparently that's
a
super
whisper.
rare.
Is that what
Yeah.
she was calling him?
Yeah, that's what
So
it
they
was.
control minds,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is scary.
So I actually, I might change my theory and prediction later.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
so that person that was able to control that kid's mind, like he's actually the sibling to the favorite of the royal family when it came to this whole Queenstrial. So like the girl, the magnetron girl who can like manipulate metal or whatever, her brother is
okay.
that kid, the one with that.
Oh, I
kid,
didn't catch
like,
that.
Yeah. So, or not brother, but they're in the same family. Like I don't know if it's a sibling or not. Same family. So
I would
Okay.
assume so. Yeah.
yeah. So last thing was Mare's power, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this as this was like the very first thing that we read about her as far as like her having power and her being a red. But like obviously, if you read a synopsis of the book before diving in, it reveals that she's going to have some kind of power, right? So like we know that was not a big surprise. But I think what was interesting for me was the power itself. I was not expecting, I guess, like her to have electricity, lightning power, pure energy power.
Yeah.
All I kept
hasn't
thinking
been
about was
defined.
Violet. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you have another Violet here. Because Violet manifests her power as lightning, but we've all talked about how it's like pure energy or whatever. And like it just kind of like she uses it as lightning.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if
And
it's the
I
same
don't know
thing.
if you guys caught that, but just before that, after she got back home from the inn, her dad was trying to fix their electricity and she went over and helped him out. And she said she felt like a
spark.
zap or something, a
Yeah, yeah.
spark. And so like hindsight now looking back, oh, it came from her. She didn't just magically touch the right spot, she gave it power.
So that's exactly what I was going to say. So like as we were reading the 7 chapters, like I was picking up on different things that she talked about. So like I kind of figured that was coming because she was like, oh, I feel sparks here, I feel sparks there. Like it happened more than once. But the most obvious one was the one you just mentioned, Stephanie, where like she was trying to get the lights, or the dad was trying to get the lights back on, and like she was the one that got it back on. So I was just like, okay, cool. Like, how is that going to look like, right? But I thought it was really interesting what, like, how, or like, I guess like what it was said in the book where it said it was moving in me and behind my eyes, beneath my skin until I feel more than myself. Then it bursts from me pure power and energy. So that's what made me think of Violet, because they talk about Violet having pure energy, right? So that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see more of that and how it manifests, and really how she's going to learn to control that.
That was
Yeah.
super cool. I was like, damn, we do have another Violet Soaringale.
Yeah.
It was
Okay,
really cool.
and I do want to mention real quick for those listening who may have not read the Fourth Wing series, we're talking about Violet Soaringale from Fourth Wing.
Oh,
Yeah.
spoiler, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I also picked up on like those little foreshadowing hints. And I think it may be as straightforward as like electricity, because I have to remember that, technically Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm are adult fantasy, even though
Right.
they read
True.
sometimes
Yeah.
as YA. And so
Yeah.
maybe in this very much YA series, maybe we won't get as much cryptic foreshadowing as we do in other adult series. So
True.
that's what makes me lean towards it being just electricity. Plus,
Gotcha.
even when she was in the Queenstrial, like the field, they have a fence of electricity that separates the
Yeah.
people vying, the girls vying for the prince's hand between the audience, right? So because for safety reasons, basically.
Right.
And she would mention that she was mesmerized, right, by this electric fence, and it like was almost calling to her.
Right. Okay, so moving on to my 3 things. Let me come back up over here. Okay, so first thing I wanted to mention was Farley. So this is the smuggler that Mare went to ask her to smuggle Clorn away so that he wouldn't be drafted into the war. And then shortly after that, when she was in Silverton with Gisa, and they were broadcasting the Scarlet Guard attack, the leader of the attack that was speaking had her face covered, but Mare instantly recognized her voice as Farley. So I think it's interesting that there's a bit of a connection there right now with Mare and Farley. And I just wonder if that's gonna go any further, if that's gonna come back around in the story somehow. This kind of ties into my prediction for later, but she did mention, Mare, that she kind of is connected to Will and the other smugglers. So I wonder if that's also the Scarlet Guard. What did you guys think of Farley?
So I have her as my character moment, so I'll just share what I was going to share then. But I am immediately suspicious of Farley. Like I know we just got like a little bit of her, but like I wonder what's going on with this chick. Like she's the leader of the Scarlet Guard, right? Like you just said. And we kind of get the sense that, you know, Mare's brother Shade is supposedly part of this rebellion, hasn't really been like confirmed or denied. So I'm wondering, like, if she knows that, like, let's say that is for real, like the Shade really is part of this rebellion. If Farley knows that, why is she demanding 2,000 crowns from Mare? Like, that to me sounds like an impossible amount of money to help. Like, wouldn't you want to recruit more people into this rebellion? Like, wouldn't this be a perfect opportunity to do that with two people who want to run away from the Silvers and the war? Like, wouldn't you want to recruit them into your rebellion, right? And I just feel like the timing of her announcement to the Silvers, like that whole attack, like does she not know that there would be Reds there and that the Silvers would immediately turn on these Reds? Like, does she not care? Does she not know? Like, does she not think that was going to happen? Like, I was just immediately suspicious of that. I mean, are we going to have like another Hunger Games situation where the rebellion leader is also corrupt? Right? Like, are we going to have that?
Yeah.
Well, so at this point,
we'll see.
I don't even know if she's a leader, but what we do know is that apparently they trust her enough to be in that position to where she could be a recruiter for people to join, right? Like, technically, she is the face of the Scarlet Guard for a reader standpoint.
Right.
And because of that, it automatically puts like not a great taste in my mouth for the Scarlet Guard, simply because there does seem to be this lack of caring about Red's lives just as much as the Silvers don't care about Red's lives, right? So I think we'll see different kind of layers of the Scarlet Guard, just like we'll see different layers of the Silvers, right? Where I think Farley is probably a very extremist, but I don't think that she is the majority necessarily.
Okay. Yeah. And then also kind of going on along the lines of the Scarlet Guard, and Jen already mentioned this before, but Mare noticed after the attack happened and everything with the Scarlet Guard, she remembered that Shade had said some interesting things in the note that he wrote to his family. So a couple of lines that I wanted to point out. One was, "It's red, capital R, as the dawn up here. You barely even see the silver officers." And then another line was, "Nothing else to report, at least not that I can write in a letter." So I wonder, like, so Mare just assumed, oh, maybe Shade was forewarning us in his own way about it. And then she thought maybe he's part of the Scarlet Guard. But I almost want to take it a step further and be like, was he secretly communicating with someone else through this note? And who else would that be but someone in their family? You know, maybe their dad, possibly their mom. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I bond with that idea. Because Mare comes to the conclusion, like, oh, he's part of this too.
Right.
She comes to that conclusion on her own. But he didn't know that she would find that out, or
she would figure it
maybe
out.
She did know, or maybe he did, knowing that the attack would be broadcast, right? Where Gisa was, not necessarily where Mare was, where Gisa was. So maybe he was kind of hoping Gisa would find out about. I don't know, but I bond with your idea.
Yeah, no, I think that, I mean, the dad was in the war too. So, you know, the rebellion had to have started in the war somehow. Like, you know, obviously they were sick and tired of being used for this cause. And I think, wasn't it Farley in that attack message or whatever? Didn't she also say it's red as the dawn up here or something like that? It's red as the dawn.
Yeah, that was part of her
That's how she connected it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So so no, I can see definitely how that has merit, but with the dad being disabled and not really doing anything, like I wonder if that's all a front that he's putting.
Well, I mean, communication is a major part of how rebellions get run. So even though he's physically disabled, he could do a lot of communicating, I would think.
True.
So that's where my head goes immediately.
Kind of like the dad in the Nightingale.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
And then my third thing was Cal. So I'm just like, what the heck is this guy, Crown Prince, doing at an inn after midnight? Like in that chapter at the beginning, Mare mentions that she was there past midnight pickpocketing these drunks coming out of the inn. And obviously not a place for a crown prince to be hanging out at.
Yeah.
And so my mind keeps running towards this secret rebellion that's going on, because when they're talking, he seems to be sympathetic to what she's going through. And like, he seems to elicit this immediate trust from Mare that she can confide in him about these things that she's facing and dealing with. And so it gives me hope that maybe he's at least sympathetic to the cause. And, you know, since he's next in line for the throne, hopefully can make some changes. But again, this ties a little bit into my theory for later. So I'll leave it at that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, he immediately caught my attention too, which is why he's my other character moment.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not pick Mare or like her family. I was like Farley and Cal like just really caught my attention in these chapters.
Okay.
But yeah, so tying it back to this election, you know, the crown prince and this election, his name is Prince Maxon. He's very sympathetic to the cause. He doesn't like how his father is running things. And so he quietly makes a lot of moves behind closed doors where like people aren't noticing it. He makes very small moves where like his dad is not paying attention. So like I'm kind of getting that vibe a little bit where it's like he did seem sympathetic to me too. Like that's what I picked up as well. So I'm hoping that he is that guy who like wants to rebel against the king and his like his own family, but he's going to do it in a much quieter way. Like he's not going to openly rebel against his dad, but I think he's going to do it very much in secret and closed doors, and very much how it was with the selection. And Kai I got a lot of Kai vibes too from Powerless. I was getting a lot of, you know? Sure. So I'm wondering if he was out because he was wanting to be amongst his people to figure out how they were being treated, is what I think.
Yeah.
You know?
And he did have a lot of questions for her about like what it's like, and asked her if she liked living in the stilts and stuff like that. So
yeah,
you know, he's just trying to like really understand who he's going to be ruling over.
Yeah.
Right. And that's another reason why it reminded me of Aladdin, right? Like a lot of this is pulling from so many different stories that we all know, that the three of us have read within this past year, right? Because this, whenever I think of Cal, I automatically think of Mistborn, where we have someone that is very sympathetic to the Ska, right?
Right.
Elend.
And, yeah. And so that this reminds me of that as well. I do think Cal might be a little more involved than our Mistborn friend was, but yeah, it's very much like I like Cal and I want to see more of what he has to offer.
Me too. Yeah. I loved Ellen, so yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Okay, so that was our three things. We're going to now move on to our 2 character moments.
So I already shared mine. You know, like I said with Farley, I'm getting very negative, suspicious vibes from her. So I want to know more. Like I'm not seeing very good things coming from Farley, especially starting off with that high demand of 2,000 crowns. And like in my mind, I'm just thinking you should want more people in your rebellion, and this is your perfect opportunity. Why are you not seizing it, right?
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because I hadn't even like put those two together. Obviously, Mare came to the conclusion immediately because she recognized her voice, like, oh, that's Farley. I know her.
Right.
Like, I know exactly who that is. And I wonder if like the rest of the smuggler crew is involved. But I didn't think about what that meant, that she demanded such a high price for them to smuggle Clorn out.
again, I'm just thinking like you want your rebellion to grow. Here is your perfect opportunity. Whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Sounds like he could be a foot soldier for your rebellion.
Exactly. Like what the hell? Okay. So I already talked about that. And then I talked about Cal as well. I have a lot of high hopes for him. I don't know how to feel about him just yet. Like I can't say I'm in love with this guy because I don't know yet. You guys know how I fall for these MMC. I don't know how I feel about Cal just yet. But
yeah, we didn't get a lot.
Yeah. But I do have good hopes for him. I do think that he was there because he really wanted to be amongst his people as a crown prince. So we'll see. We'll get more from him hopefully in these next few chapters, especially the way chapter 7 ended.
Yeah.
Yes. Chapter 7. All right, so we've talked about my two as well already. I kind of grouped the Mare's family as one character.
Okay.
And I just don't like them, right?
Yeah.
Like, even Gisa, I'm on the fence about.
Yeah, me too.
So man, it sucks. Your hand is broken, and I'm sure there's going to be some resentment there later on in the story. But that being said, and our discussion that we've had so far, now it makes me wonder if the reason that their family is not so keen on her stealing and stuff like that is maybe it might draw attention to them when attention isn't necessarily wanted if they are more involved with things than meets the eye. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally.
That might give them a little bit of a redemptive factor in my mind for now until we read otherwise.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
For now I'm just like,
I don't like that. Yeah. I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah.
All fair points.
And then one of the reasons I think I passed this book up when it first came out is because I read the summary on the back of it, and it was another female main character. And at the time, there were so many books that were female main characters. We had Bella, we had Katniss, we had The Selection, because again, that came out around this time as well. I remember seeing it. I have it on my shelf somewhere. But we had a lot of female, and whereas, I was more interested in reading more stories about Aragon because it just felt more relatable for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I passed this one up initially. Now that I've matured, I'm so excited to be reading it. And as female main characters go, as FMCs go, I'm not mad at her. She's very feisty, and she's got some spark in her. And but right? But like Katniss, I could see how my opinion of her might change later on, just because she seems like a character that could just do things on a whim. And I'm interested to see her development.
Yeah, see, and Mare was not one I picked as my character moment because I feel like I don't know how I feel about her yet. I don't love her, but I don't hate her yet either.
Right.
Like there are certain FMCs where I'm like, oh my God, I love this girl. Like Sarah's from Quicksilver. Like I loved her immediately. And then there are other FMCs that annoyed the crap out of me from the beginning. Like, Feyre annoyed me a little bit when I first started reading Akatar.
Feyre annoyed me a lot.
Honestly, I feel that. Yeah.
Right? Like from the beginning, she was already annoying. And like, or the character from, oh my gosh, what is it called? Sparks of the Everflame. Like she annoyed me from like page 1. So like there are characters that kind of make me feel a certain way from the beginning. Mare, I actually don't know how I feel about her yet, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. It's very interesting because I don't think I've ever felt that way before.
That's funny because getting into my character moments, I immediately am loving Mare. I don't know. I love how she is fierce and loyal and has this immediate sense of responsibility for her friends and family. And I know that's very similar in characteristics to FMCs we just talked about being annoying. But for some reason, for me, I just want to be like, like, Mare, you're so sweet, like you don't have to take all of this on. You're only 18 or 17, actually. She's 17. And it just warms my heart how she immediately sprung into action as soon as she found out what happened to Clorn and how he lost his apprenticeship. And she figured out, like, obviously she didn't make it happen, but she figured out like a plan to try to help him. And like, even after what happened with Gisa, she continued to try to make it happen.
Right.
And even when she gets taken to the palace and gets this job, she's like, oh my gosh, like that must have been Cal. Like I'm gonna figure out a way to convince Cal to give Clorin a job too. And like she just does not quit. And I love that like tenacity about her. And then like I also, like I mentioned, just feel for her because she immediately felt guilty about what happened to Gisa, even though like Gisa was the one who tried to pickpocket someone where she's not the family pickpocket. Right. You know, like, what are you thinking? You're a seamstress. Like, this is not your realm.
Yeah.
Even Mare, who was there for that specific purpose, did not try to pickpocket because she, like, in that whole inner monologue during that time, she was saying to herself, like, there's silvers here, they have abilities, there's cameras everywhere. And she was, like, noticing her surroundings and looking for a good opportunity and knew that it wasn't a good time. Yeah. And so, like, she's, like, smart about the way she goes about these things. Like, I just feel like Gisa shouldn't have done that. Like, she knew she shouldn't have done that. And I feel bad that Mare... Yeah, that Mare... like felt some responsibility for that, but I don't think it was her fault.
Yeah, I guess like one thing I don't like about, and it's not really Mare in particular, but like, you know, people like Feyre and Mare who try to provide for their family to people who don't appreciate it. Her family doesn't appreciate that shit. Feyre's, you know, sisters didn't appreciate or help her at all. That annoys me because if I'm going to go out of my way for you, you better fucking appreciate that. And if I see that you don't appreciate it, I'm not doing anything for you. So like, I don't like when people go above and beyond for people who don't care. Like, come on, y'all. You could be spending or using your time for other things. If she got this job, then you need to look out for you, you know? Her best friend also already gave up on himself too. She's trying to help him and he already gave up on himself. So I'm like, so then why are you still trying to help him? You know, like he needs to have some fight in him too for you to fight with him, not for him, you know?
Yeah, or even when he does get out, he's not going to make it because, you know, he like, he doesn't, he's
better prepare.
Got the wherewithal. Yeah, but I'm totally with you. Like,
that's just how I feel.
I can't do it for you, right? Like, I can't want it for you.
Right.
And if you don't even want it for you, why bother?
Exactly.
Yeah, like you can't help people who don't want to help themselves.
Exactly.
Yep, that's tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Great way to sum that up. Why didn't I say that?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then my next thing is Clorin, but really like Mare's friendship with Clorin, like I really like their dynamic together. And she mentions how like he gets into the First Friday events that happen and he actually bets on them with the little money that he gets from his apprenticeship. And she sees right through that power play from the Silvers, but you know, she still cares for him. And it's just heartwarming to see their friendship and how she takes him under his wing and is determined to figure out a way to make sure he doesn't get sent to the front line. And I hope that we see more of their friendship. I don't necessarily want to say that it's a love interest. I'm just like, I like their friendship. I like their dynamic. And I hope that we see more of it.
Is this kind of like Katniss and Gale? What is his name? Gale, right?
Gale.
Yeah, that's because
she ended up with.
Well, I'm just wondering, like the friendship piece of it. Like this kind of reminds me of that, where like they both go out and like, you know, hunt together and things like that, and they looked out for each other before she got, you know, taken away or whatever, before he became what he did. And so that kind of reminds me a little bit of that. Because I mean, I feel like it should be the other way around. Like he should be looking out for her and be taking her under his wing. And trying to find ways for her not to get conscripted instead of like her doing that for him, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I guess like I just see how she does have her family intact, even though her brothers are in the war. But Clorin's an orphan. He's completely alone.
I forgot about that.
And so like I also would want to like make sure he's taken care of because he has no one else except for Mare.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so to end our discussion, we are going to talk about our one theory or prediction. Who wants to go first? Yay!
I'm going to say I have one theory and one prediction, therefore it still falls in the one. instead of a two.
I did the same thing, so fair.
Okay. So one thing is, I think we may be facing a Mockingjay situation here with Mare. Okay. Now that the cat's out of the bag, right? She's a red that has powers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, mind blown to the silvers, mind blown to the reds. The downside here, right, is that she's been exposed to the silvers first, but the Scarlet Guard also has seen her face, and they are an active rebellion. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to be seeking her out as well. Mm. And so she's going to be torn between two worlds here. So that's mm-hmm. one theory that I have. Like, I think she is going to be sought out to be like a Mockingjay savior type character by the Scarlet mm-hmm. Guard. She's going to be like their spokesperson, right? She's going to be on the front lines. And then the Silvers obviously want her and are going to try to spin a narrative to make sure people, don't mistake her for a red.
Right.
And so, so that's a theory I have going into it. And then, or that should be my prediction, I should say. My theory is that I do believe there are some silvers involved with the rebellion. And I think part of how that manifests is the Whisperer guy. I think it was very intentional that he showcased that a silver can be hurt. And I think he's part of the rebellion because that was a very public display. And doesn't his family talk about they're in some kind of trouble or they're not in good graces or something like that?
No, his family is part of the favored.
Okay,
yeah.
The favored. Okay.
But But Mare was in a viewing box with another family who was
yes,
complaining about oh, this is a farce. They've already chosen.
Yeah.
There's already some dissent within this, among the ranks in the silvers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how ironic would it be? Because the favored girl for the prince's hand was from the Whisperer's family.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Mm. Yeah.
And so how ironic would it be if there's also someone sympathetic to the rebellion in the same family? So I think that could be interesting.
That could be cool.
Okay, so I was a little tired when I was working on mine. So I don't really have yeah, I don't really have a huge theory or prediction. It was more of how chapter 7 ended. So how we've mentioned it several times already that the way it ended was pretty great. So after, Mare displays her power, she runs away, or she tries to run away. And the very ending of chapter 7 is Cal wrapping his arms around her because there's some kind of fire. So I think he manipulates fire. So personally, prediction, I guess, is that, I don't think he's trying to cause her any harm when he wraps his arms around her. Personally, I think he wanted to get to her first to try to intervene before his father caught up to Mare, because obviously her having powers is quite the shock, pun intended. So so I think that he's trying to help her in the very end, because it kind of made it seem like he was the one trapping her, and maybe he was gonna betray her or something. I don't think so. I think he's trying to help her. I think he's trying to get to her first before his father gets to her, and maybe try to downplay some of her power. I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking going into chapter 8. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, so as we discussed today, my theory kind of developed a little more. So it might be a 2-part theory and a prediction. So y'all will forgive me. But the theory that I have is that Mare's dad and brothers play a big part in this rebellion. So that's why I mentioned that, he wouldn't just warn them about this act of rebellion or the attack that happened. And I feel there might be some more coded language within that note that Mare just isn't privy to. And so I think there's more there. And then on top of that, bringing it back around to this discussion, why the heck was Cal at the inn at midnight? So as we know, this rebellion is a rebellion of the Reds, and they would have to meet somehow to coordinate these things and their whole movement. And so I wonder if maybe he's also involved in some capacity, because this attack happened on the Capitol, and the stilts is some distance away from the Capitol, and Silverton is like a different silver city that is not the Capitol. So maybe he helped to coordinate this to happen during a time when the royal family was not at the Capitol while their backs were turned, basically.
So
that's my theory. And then I predict that because Mare is both connected to who I think is like a big part of the rebellion, her dad and her brothers, and now Cal, and she's got these powers. I think, you know, to your point, Ethan, she is going to become a major key player in this rebellion and what happens next. Like, they're going to try to use her as a symbol, and she's going to be torn between the royal family trying to control the narrative and get her to their side, while the Scarlet Guard tries to use her as a symbol for their cause.
So, as you were talking, and I was thinking about what I said about Farley, about like why she didn't take that opportunity to just like take 2 people into her rebellion. I'm wondering if the way they recruit is once you get conscripted into the war, they recruit within the war, and they wait until you're there to be away from, you know, the Silvers and their prying eyes. So like, I'm wondering if like maybe that's why she didn't do that, because like they're not officially conscripted.
Which brings me back to Shade's letter. Right. One of his lines was like, "You hardly see the Silvers."
Right.
What
that's
was
what I'm
it?
saying. Yes. That's
You
what I'm
barely
saying.
even
Like,
see the Silver officers.
what you said made me think about what I said about Farley. And I think that you're right. With the dad and the brothers being part of the rebellion, maybe you have to wait to be conscripted, because then you get taken away, and then you have more time to get together. You have more time to, you know, meet and rebel, because, you know, they're away from the city, they're away from the Silvers. And so maybe that's why Farley didn't take her opportunity to grab Mare and Killorn, you know, so.
Also, maybe it's just an extra layer of recruitment, right? If you're not in the army and we can't get to you that way, then we need you, because in the army you're naturally in a place where you prove if you're able to do what needs to be done. But this way, to get such a high amount in such a short amount of time, maybe that's an extra layer of recruitment, that if we can't get you in the army, then let's use this test to see if you're worthy to join before. So maybe it's just an added layer of security.
Right. So it's just all coming together as we talk. I knew it.
It's the best part of discussing.
Yeah.
We start cooking up all these theories.
I'm like, why is Farley just not taking this opportunity? But it would make sense to be away from the Silvers in the city.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah. More to come.
Okay, book friends, that was the end of our first deep dive on Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Let's keep the discussion going, please. We are Books Between Friends Pod on all platforms. Thank you so much if you are interacting with us on our socials. Please, if you are not, or if you are, continue to do so. And if you're not, please begin, because we want to hear from you. Interact with our socials. We look forward to chatting with you all about this book, because we know that there's a lot of hype around this book, and that people are excited for us to read it. Yay. So we want to discuss with you.
All right, guys. On our next episode, power reveals itself in unexpected ways, and part 2 of Red Queen, where we will cover chapters 8 through 14. We will dig into the power dynamics, the symbolism we can't ignore, and the early signs of something much bigger brewing. We're breaking down what stood out, who surprised us, and where we think the story might be heading next. Be sure to tune in next week. You don't want to miss this one.